This year you might be asked to use Google Slides. We wanted to give you some instructions about how to navigate around Google Slides. So I'm in my drive, I'm in my classroom folder for this year, and I'm going to start by creating a new Google Slides. There might be times when you need to create a new Google Slides or work in a Google Slides that your teacher has assigned to you. Either way, you should know how to navigate through the tool. So I'm going to start by clicking New and choosing Google Slides. And I'm here with my blank slide presentation. When Slides opens up, I start with the untitled presentation at the top. I always want to give that a name before I go any further. I'm just going to call this example. You should name it whatever your teacher has asked you to name it. And remember, just like in Google Docs, if you never need to change your name, you just click on it and you can type, you can highlight, you can capitalize, whatever you need to do. And if you need to change the location, just like in Google Docs, you can click on the little folder icon and move it to a different folder if needed. When Google Slides opens up, it always begins with a title slide and one slide. The nice thing about Google Slides is it gives you a preview of all the slides that you're going to have in your presentation here on the left as you go on. When Google Slides also opens up, it shows you the themes in Google Slides. And I always recommend, just when you get started, to just close this so that you can work on a bigger page. Lastly, when you open a new Google Slides, the default font is always Arial, just like in a Google Doc. So I'm going to talk to you about the different slide formats and then go through some of the buttons at the top. So the first thing to know about slides is when you add a new slide is slide layouts. So there's a button at the top called Layout, and you can see the different slide layout options in this theme. This is just the basic theme here. So I have a title slide, and you can change the layout of this slide if you needed to, just need one slide. I'm going to keep it as a title slide, and then I'm going to add a new slide. When you add a new slide, you use the plus button, but you also could use the arrow drop down and choose which layout you want for your second slide. So I'm going to just choose the basic one here. And then I'm going to talk about what slides are made up of. So slides, when you first start working with them, are made up of text boxes. And text boxes are places on the slide where you can type. So you can see that there's a text box here that says click to add title. I just click, those words go away, and I can just type my title. It also has a text box down here, and I can do the same thing, and that maybe will be where my name goes. So everywhere there is a box that says click to add title, those are called text boxes, or click to add text. If you make a new slide that's blank, so I'll just change this layout, you can add anything you want to this. You can add your own text boxes or images or shapes or lines, and we're going to talk about how to use those tools. Let's just talk first about some text box features. So when you click and you start typing the title here, all of the features that you learned about in Google Docs are also in Google Slides. So in order to have this slide text change or this text box change, you can use the font size, bold, italic, underline, font color, highlight color. All of those things are the same as they were in Google Docs. The other things that are there are the alignment, that applies to text, and the line spacing. And then the bullet and numbering are sort of hidden under this 3 dots, depending on what kind of buttons you have showing. So you have the numbered list, the bullet list, the indentation options. So you can see when you start typing, you have to highlight and then change the font if you want to change the font and the font size. All of those things work the same. I'll just change this to the same. So that's how slides, slide layouts, and the text boxes work. Here on this blank slide, if you're asked to create something with a blank slide and add certain things on it in sort of a creative way, you can add text boxes by using this button up at the top, clicking on it and just selecting and dragging, and that makes a text box. You can notice that it is in the font Arial size 14, so here's where you would want to change it, possibly for whatever project you're working on. I wanted to just demonstrate how to use bullets and numbers in Google Slides. So if you need to add bullets or a bulleted list or a numbered list to your slide, you can just type your text and highlight the text and use the buttons for the bullet and numbering over here. So the bullets add little dots in front of your words and the numbers make a numbered list. This is useful for many kinds of projects you might need to do. If you want to change the bullets, you can use the little drop down arrow next to the bulleted list. So in the number options, you have some different options of the way the numbers could look. And in the bullet options, you have different ways the bullets can look. And what the other pictures represent is if you indent after something. So if you have a list and then you need to make an indent underneath, you get a different bullet in these options. The next button to show you is I have a separate video on images, so I'm going to review the shapes button right here. So when you click on the shapes button, you see all of the options here for shapes, and my other video actually reviews images and shapes, so I'm just showing you where these things are, and then you can watch the other video for how to use those tools. So the insert image button and menu looks like this, and the insert shape button and menu looks like this. And to put one on your paper, you just choose one and you click and drag and you get a shape on your page. And the line works the same way. So you have all these different styles of lines, and to get them on your paper, you just click and drag. All right, last couple things I want to show you in Google Slides is a few buttons that you should be familiar with from Google Docs, which is the link button. So if you have to add a link in Google Slides, that button is also here. And the undo button is also here. There are two kinds of links that you could add in Google Slides. It's a little similar to Google Docs, but I want to show it specifically here. So if your teacher asks you to add a link to a website, that's probably what you're familiar with from Google Docs. So you would just type your text that you want the link to go to, click on the link, and then paste whatever website you would like to direct your teacher to look at. So say you're doing something on code.org, for example, you could go right to your code.org project, copy that link, paste the link here, click apply, and this would be a clickable link in your slideshow. The other kind of link that you can make in a slideshow is to link to other slides in the presentation. And this is helpful sometimes if you have a really long slideshow and you want to create a table of contents slide. So you could click and create a table of contents, and then you could have an introduction slide, let's say, and then slide, just call these like this. And then I also wanted to show you that when you make a slide in Google Slides, you can easily drag and drop them. So if you need to reorder your slides, it's really easy to do by just dragging and dropping. It's one really convenient piece of Google Slides. So here I am in my table of contents, and if I want this word introduction to jump to slide 3, I highlight the word introduction, I click on the link button, and right here it says slides in this presentation. So I can use that drop down arrow and make sure that I always use the actual slides instead of the next slide, previous slide, first slide, last slide, but you could use those as well. And I want my introduction to go to slide 3. So I'm going to click here and click apply. And then I could do the same thing for the next word and so on. So I just wanted to show and explain that there's two kinds of links you can make in a Google Slides. As you can see, there are so many things you can do in Google Slides. I hope this helped as an introduction to using some of the tools in Google Slides, and I hope that it looks very familiar to you and is an easy tool to use.